guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're celebrating a little bit of David Bowie. Now it's a bit of a sad day, year this year, in the sense like it's been 10 years this year, guys, that we lost David Bowie. We lost David Bowie in January 2026, and so it's a bit of a unbelievable. It's been 10 years already. So I've not done a lot of Bowie on my channel. So this year, throughout the year, now and again, I will put in a few Bowie videos. I have done one close look at some of my box sets. I will be going through and unboxing some closer look at some other box sets that I have of Bowie over the year. I'm not going to do them all now because I just don't want to drench it. I want to spread it out. But today, I'm going to go through my top 10 favourite David Bowie albums. So the thing is with David Bowie, everybody's top 10 is different and everybody's top 10 is right because they're all amazing albums. So everybody's top 10 favourites are going to be right, especially for them. And this is my favourite top 10 that I absolutely, that it's a bittersweet top 10, obviously. It's got my first love of Bowie's albums in there. I will do a Bowie video when I'm reflecting back on my older days, when I first got into Bowie and how I got into him. I will be doing that, but today I'm just going through my top 10 favourite David Bowie albums. Before we get to the 10, I have two honourable mentions which would have been in there, but I can only fit 10 in 10. I can't fit 12 in 10, can I? That doesn't work. So I've got two honourable mentions. The first one is A Lad Insane, or A Lad Insane. He's one of his classic 70s albums, which is fantastic. A really, really cool album. Let me grab my glasses and we can have a look, see if we can read the track listings for you. Right. So, Lad Insane is Watch That Man, A Lad Insane, Driving Saturday, Panic in Detroit, Crack Actor, Time, The Prettiest Star, Let's Spend the Night Together, The Gene Genie, Lady Grim Soul, and Lyrics Within. And that is the track listing of the iconic image of Bowie. So I do have that tattooed on my arm. I don't think I'm going to be able to show you, but he is just up there somewhere. You can just about make him out. But yeah, I have him tattooed there on my forearm, or the back of my bicep, sorry. So yeah, iconic image, iconic album, but I just can't fit more than 10 in 10, and these other ones just beat to it for me. The other honourable mention is his 1979 album called Lodger, which opens out to a sleeve like that. Really cool album, really good. I can't give you the track listings unless they're on the disc, which I think they are actually. Yeah, let's have a look. Fantastic Voyage, let's have a look. African Night Flight, Move On, Assassin, Red Sails, DJ, Look Back in Anger, Boys Keep Swinging, Reputation, and Red Money. Really cool album. I love this album because it was, to me, it's his punk album. If you're into Bowie, you kind of know he's crossed over pretty much every kind of genre throughout his career, including punk. And this was his punk album to me. I love these ones because they all come with the replica sort of like song sheet and stuff that would have been in the original album. It's really cool. So they are my two honourable mentions that sadly didn't make my top 10. If I get a chance, I'll remember, I'll try and put a picture up of a better picture of me Bowie tattoo so you can see it. It's not very good. It's old tattoo. I've had it now, I don't know, 15 years probably now, so it's quite old. Anyway, here they are, my top 10 favourite David Bowie albums. So let's get into them. Number 10. It's a special one for me, and it was Reality. Number of reasons. This was the third time I saw David Bowie on tour, I saw him 3 times on tour. I saw him on the Serious Moonlight tour back in the 80s, and I saw him on the Glass Spider tour, and then I got to see him on this tour. I've only seen him 3 times, but I'm privileged and honoured to have seen him in concert 3 times. Fantastic. And this was his comeback album, if you like, if you will. After a many year of silence from Bowie, he came back with this album called Reality, and it's really, really good. Let's have a look at the track listing for you. So this came out, was it 2000 and I think it was about 2009, if I remember right, something like that. And anyway, the tracks have got New Killer Star, which is fantastic. Pablo Piasco, Don't Get Old, The Loneliest Guy, Looking for Walter, She Drives, The Big Car, Days, Fall Down Bombs, The Moon, Dry Some Buy Some, Reality, Bring Me the Disco. Now this is a 2-disc edition, which has tracks on the other disc. It has Waterloo Sunset, Fly, Queen of It All, The Tarts Overture, Rebel Rebel, which makes live, Love Missile F111, which is a cover version of the Sieg Sieg Sputnik track, Rebel Never Gets Old, Seventh Heaven edit, and Rebel Never Gets Old, Seventh Heaven remix. So yeah, it's got an extra disc of remix on this edition, but it's a really, really cool album. This is a part of one of my other Bowie box sets, which I haven't brought to the channel yet. It's this one here, which contains all these sort of later albums, and this was the first one in it. So yeah, Reality came out after quite a big gap, and it was like, okay, it's cool. And he came out and he did a tour, and it was absolutely fantastic, really, really cool. Before then, he did perform at Glastonbury, I believe, if I remember right. He did Glastonbury. I can't remember what year that was. Yeah, Glastonbury was 2000. He did perform at Glastonbury there. This is another box set which I have, which is 2 CDs and a DVD of the whole Glastonbury concert. Yeah, but then I think his popularity regained because it went through a state, I would say, in the 90s, mid-90s onwards, where he sort of became not irrelevant, but almost like forgotten idol. And I think it was post Tin Machine. I think Tin Machine didn't do a lot for his career, although I actually quite like the Tin Machine material he did. That's when David Bowie, Tin Machine was a band that David Bowie created, that he wanted to get away from David Bowie, the facade of David Bowie and all the personas that he created. He wanted to have a complete break. He did a tour, and he said it's the last time he's ever going to play these songs. And then he went off and did Tin Machine, and it got quite a bit of negative reviews. He did a couple of albums and I liked. And then he sort of disappeared, and then he started to do other albums like Earthlings and things like this, which were a bit drum and bass sort of based. He got into that scene for a while. But then he went to Glastonbury and did his show, and did pretty much a great hit show, which was incredible. And then his popularity went through the roof again, and that must have inspired him to come out and do a new album. Reality, really, really cool. Back to old school Bowie. That's why I loved it. Really, really cool. Reality is my number 10. Then we had another ginormous gap. And there was just nothing for David Bowie for years and years and years. And then on the radio one day, a radio announcement came over, "We've got some big news for you. We're getting a new single and a new album from David Bowie." And that's my number 9. And it's Next Day. This is an album of the album Heroes, which they just did this over the top of it. I don't know if it was supposed to be like a follow-on to the album of Heroes. I'm not sure, but that's how the album came out. So I had the Heroes cover on there. By the way, Heroes isn't in my top 10. Shock horror. But no, it's not in there. So this is the first album that he did in 10 years. And it's phenomenal. Absolutely amazing album. It includes the tracks The Next Day, Dead Boys, The Stars, Love Is Lost, Where Are We Now? That was the single that came out before the album, with a very strange, bizarre video. It had like a video playing, but with David's and that face sort of copy and pasted on top of it, which was quite quite a cool thing, because I think that's what it's saying. It's where are we now? We're just copying and pasting our lives, sort of thing, and that's the message I got from the video. But great song, and when I heard it, I cried. When I heard the song for the first time, I cried, because it was the first Bowie song that we've had in 10 years, and it was incredible. You know, it was just amazing. Really, really cool. I mean, in those 10 years, we were only treated to sort of like sort of re-releases, deluxe editions of old albums and stuff like that. So when this came, it was like, wow, cool. Where are we now? Valentine's Day. If you can see me, I'd rather be high. Boss on me, dancing out of the space. How does the grass grow? You will set the world on fire. You feel so lonely, I could die. Heart. And it's got the bonus tracks of So She, Plan, and I'll Take You There, released on Sony Music. Yeah, so this came out, was it 2014? Can't remember now, guys. Let me have a little look. 2013, so I was a year out. Anyway, so this came out, and it was wow. He didn't tour it or anything. I think he might have done a couple of private little shows or something, but nothing. There was no tour along with this album. It just came out of nowhere after 10 years of silence. Because Bowie's popularity came back after the Glastonbury, and we had releases of albums and stuff like that, you know. But then this just 10 years for nothing, and then all of a sudden, there we go, out came Next Day. Really cool, and that's my number 9. Number 8 is his post-punk new wave album, I would say. I think it's from 1980, or it could be 79, and it's Scary Monsters, Super Creeps. Fantastic album, probably one of the albums I played the most in the 80s of Bowie. I became a Bowie fan in the 70s, but I'll save that for another day. This comes with the Replica Again song sheet, lyric sheet, which, if I remember right, it was just the inner sleeve, but they put it into its own little inner sleeve here on these SAD gold discs, which are really cool. The track listing on Scary Monsters Super Creeps is It's No Game Part 1, Up the Hill Backwards, Scary Monsters Super Creeps, Ashes to Ashes, Fashion. So that side 1, the 5 tracks, 4 of them were singles, and on side 2 was Teenage Wildlife, Screams Like a Baby, Kingdom Come, Because You're Young, and It's No Game Part 2. Really cool album. Really, really cool album. Like I said, to me, it's his new wave album. Really cool. Everybody knows Ashes to Ashes and Fashion. Fantastic. Was Fashion written by him and John Lennon? I can't remember. But he did do a song written with John Lennon. I'm not sure if that is the one. Don't think it's going to tell me on here. Yeah, it doesn't tell me on that. I'm not going to be able to read this because I think the writing is so small. But I'm sure Fashion was the one he did with John Lennon. Someone will correct me in the comments. It might not be Fashion, it might be another track that I'm thinking of. But yeah, cool. Fantastic album though. Scary Monsters Super Creeps, probably one of my most played albums of Bowie that I played in the 80s, because I just fell in love with it. I think everybody fell in love with Ashes to Ashes. It was number 1 for ages here in the UK. Really cool, great album as well. That's number 8. Number 7, we're going to one of his Berlin albums, and it's Low. Another fantastic album. This was the period he was living in and working in Berlin, along with Iggy Pop and people like this. I love all this stuff because it comes with like the stuff you would have got in the actual album. The fan club, Keep Up with David, so you had like an application where you could send off and join David's fan club, and you'd have your little sheet. Again, that would have been the inner sleeve. And we'll go through the tracks on Low. So Low has Speed of Life, Breaking Glass, What in the World, Sound and Vision, Always Crashing into the Same Car, Be My Wife, A New Career in a New Town, War's Hour, Art Decade, Weeping War, and Subterraneans. Really cool. So the 2 singles on that are Breaking Glass and Sound and Vision. Yes, everyone probably go for Heroes because it's got Heroes on it and Beauty and the Beast and that. But I love Heroes, but this one was my special one. I just thought it was absolutely incredible, and it had that iconic cover, which reminded me, I don't know if it's actually taken from, but it reminds me of his image from the film The Man That Fell to Earth. I will do a Bowie week one week this year where I'll review 3 movies of Bowie, or maybe a couple of movies and a concert. We'll see. But yeah, Low, fantastic album, really cool. I think there's a lot of work with Brian Eno on this, I'm sure, but really, really cool album. And that is my 8th, I believe. 10, 9, 8, 7. Sorry, number 7. So number 6 is a live album from the same period, and it's Stage. I love this. Everybody loved David Live, which came out a few years before this on the back of, I think, Diamond Dogs album. This came back on the back of Low and Heroes, and it's just a fantastic live album, double live album. Really cool, and it's been reproduced here into 2 individual CDs, just like the album. Really cool. So I'll go through the track listing. Really cool. I think it starts off with Hang On To Yourself, I think. Let's have a look. So side 1, Hang On To Yourself, Ziggy Stardust, 5 Years, Soul Love, Star. Side 2, Station to Station, which was about 10 or 11 minutes long. Fame, that's the one he did with John Lennon, right? Fame. Yeah, not Fashion, it's Fame. I knew I was wrong. There we go. Anyway, and then it's got TVC 15, and that's side 2. Side 3, War's Hour, Speed of Life, Arc Decade, Sense of Doubt, Breaking Glass, and side 4 was Heroes, What in the World, Blackout, and Beauty and the Beast. So there's a lot of songs from Low and Heroes on there, some instrumental stuff on it again, which is what I appreciated with. Now, there is a different version. Do I have it here with me? Let me have a look. There is a different version of this album, which has the songs set out in a completely different set order, and I prefer the set order of this version than that. I think this is the original, and I think this is 2017 mix, and I actually prefer the track listing set out in this. So tell me what you think. Starts off with the instrumental, War's Hour, Heroes, What in the World, Be My Wife, Genie, Blackout, Sense of Doubt, Speed of Life, Breaking Glass, Beauty and the Beast, Fame, 5 Years, Soul Love, Star, Hang On To Yourself, Ziggy Stardust, Suffragette City, Art Decade, Alabama Song, Station to Station, Stay, which I love, and TVC 15. So you've even got more tracks on this version than you do on the original, because this was remixed to fit onto the album. Back in the day, you only had a certain length of time you could fit on an album, right? So you had to put the songs in an order that would fit on to fill that time up on that record. I think it was almost like about 15 to 20 minutes you could fit on one side of an LP. So they had to rearrange the songs. Now I believe this is the official set list order, the 2017 version, which is on CD. So you've got more tracks that are on there that are not on there, because obviously you couldn't fit them all on there. So this is my preferred version, but there is two versions of the film, so I'm putting in the album, so I'm putting them both in there at the same account, and that is number, is it 6? I believe so. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. 6 is staged, so we're down to the top 5. Number 5 is the bittersweet part. Because we got announced a couple of years after the next day of a new album, Black Star, and this came out, and 2 days later David was dead. David passed on 2 days later, so this was like his goodbye message to the world. So it's a bittersweet album, but it's incredible. It's, to me, some of the best work he's ever done. The track listing on here is very difficult to read because it's in black, so I will shine on the light and try. It starts off with 0957, 'Tis a Pity, She Was a Whore, Lazarus, which I believe was a single, Sue, or Our Seasons of Crime, Girl Loves Me, Dollar Days, I Can't Give, and Everything Away. So the 957, the track that I said was 957, is actually called Black Star, because if you look at it on there, it's got a black star, and then that's the time of the song. What a complete dick. But there we go. So that is it, and it was incredible. And there's a picture of David there from the last sort of photo shoot he did, and he passed away 2 days after this album coming out. And it was so heartbreaking. But if you watched his video to the song Lazarus, it was almost like him saying, you know, he looked really frail in the video. Obviously that was made months before he passed. This was made months before he passed. But then all of his friends, I've seen a documentary about him saying that they saw him like a few weeks before he passed, and he had no eyebrows, his hair had gone. You know, he was having treatment for his illness, his leukemia. But unfortunately, he lost the battle. But this was his goodbye message to us. And what a message. It's a great album. It's a difficult listen. The song lyrics are quite hard to listen to, like Lazarus and stuff like that, because it's him saying goodbye, a lot of it, and it's incredible. Black Star is my 5th favourite David Bowie album, mainly because of the sentiment behind it, but also for being a bloody good album. Really, really cool. Just showing to his last day, he was one of the most creative artists the world has ever seen. So we're down to the top 4, and all 4 of these I think are absolute classics. Number 4 is one of his mid-70s, and we're looking at Young Americans. I just love this album. It's so different to his others. This was him going through his almost a little bit of jazz, a little bit of funk, quite heavily American sort of influence on the music style on this album. But it was really, really cool. It had that sort of different sound for Bowie, because that's what I said. Bowie was genre breaking. You know, when he first started, he was quite experimental. But before then, he was Davy Jones and the Manish Boys, and he was very 60s catchy pop, you know, catchy pop music, and he made all those catchy songs, Laughing Gnome, Love You to Tuesday, and all that, all very, very 60s, very Carnaby Street music. And then he went to his experimental stage with The Man That Sold the World, and albums like that. And then he went through his folky stage, then he went to his glam stage, and then he went to America and did his sort of American sort of rock stage, and then the American funk stage, and then he went to Berlin and went to his experimental electronic stage, came back with his punk new wave, and he went through the 80s with his 80s rock stage. He's done everything. Incredible. But I love Young Americans. So let's go through the track listings on this album for you. It is Young Americans, Win, Fascination, Right, Nobody Up There Likes Me, Across the Universe, which I believe is the cover version of the Beatles classic track. Can You Hear Me, and Fame, which is with John Lennon. So big Beatles influence on this album, obviously, because he'd done a cover version, and he wrote a song on here with John Lennon called Fame. Fantastic. Such a good album, so different to his other material. And I love the track Young Americans. It's such a cool, funky, jazzy track. Really cool. I love Young Americans. It's one of my comfort Bowie albums. If I want when I just want to feel good with Bowie, I put on Young Americans. Not the best look, but it's still really cool. Really cool album. So we're down to my top 3. This one is more of his later career albums, which I adore, and it's called Heathen. Really cool album. To me, it's one of his return to form, a bit like Reality. This is him returning to form. Really cool album. This, once again, is a 2 CD edition from that box set with a wonderful little booklet with some wonderful pictures of David there. Really cool album. Love this album from start to finish. Really cool, and I just wish he'd done more albums like Heathen. The track listing for Heathen is Sunday, which is brilliant. Cactus, Slip Away, Slow Burn, Fray, I've Been Waiting For... I can't read, because you've written the songs and then they've crossed them out. See if they've got any clearer writing in here, maybe on the disc itself. I think that's the remake. Is that the remix disc? Yeah, that's the remix disc. So here we go. I might be able to read it better on the disc itself. Or no, this is the remix disc. We will get there, guys. Slip Away, Slow Burn, Afraid, I've Been Waiting For You. Side 2 was I Would Be Your Slave. I Took a Trip on the Gemini Spaceship. Absolutely fantastic track, that one. What else do you have on here? 5:15, The Angels have Gone. Everyone Says Hi, A Better Future, and Heathen, The Rays. So a 12-track album. Really cool album. This extra disc has on it Sunday, Moby remix, then Better Future remixed by the French band Air, Conversation Piece, Panic in Detroit Live, Wood Jackson, When the Boys Come Marching Home, Baby Loves That Way, You've Got a Habit of Leaving, Safe, and Shadow Man. So it's a whole album of tracks, and it does play out like a completely different album. Really cool. Oh, guys, Heathen is such a good album. It's so musically mature and wonderful, and it just sounds incredible. Amazing album. It's my 3rd favourite David Bowie album, is Heathen. So we're down to the top 2. Number 2, Ziggy Stardust. So we have The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. Is my 2nd favourite David Bowie album. Here it is replicated in its original 12-inch album sleeve. Fantastic album. Doesn't say a lot about it really, it's just amazing. Tracks are 5 Years, Soul Love, Moon Age Daydream, Starman, It Ain't Easy, Lady Stardust, Star, Hang On To Yourself, Ziggy Stardust, Suffragette City, and Rock and Roll Suicide. I will do a whole video to this album and number 1. They will get their own videos when I look at these albums closer. And maybe any connected releases with it, like any live albums like this one. We have a live album that is kind of connected to it, so I'll go through all those when I do their own video. But my 2nd favourite Bowie album of all time is The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. So number 1, I believe, is a 1971 album, and it's Hunky Dory. This is my favourite Bowie album of all time because it was the first Bowie album I bought. The first Bowie record I ever bought was 1975. It was a 7-inch single. I bought from Boots for 30p, and it was Rebel Rebel from the album, I believe, Diamond Dogs. But I loved that so much, and I couldn't afford albums back in the day, and the cheapest one that they had on sale was this, and I fell in love with it, and I've loved it to this day. It's just an incredible album, amazing. Let's go through the track list. Changes, Oh You Pretty Things, 8-line poem, Life on Mars, Kooks, Quicksand, Feel Your Heart, Andy Warhol, Song for Bob Dylan, Queen Bitch, and the Broody Brothers. It's just perfect. It's just a perfect album, and it just sums up the 70s perfectly. Incredible. Again, I will do its own video when I will look at this and any other maybe associated releases with it. So we do have the lyrics sheet there. And it's just incredible. Like I said, it was the first Bowie album I bought, but I'm going to save that story for another Bowie video, because I want to do a video like how I fell in love with Bowie, and yeah, and how he broke my heart. And I think he broke most of our hearts, really. But that, guys, is my top 10 favourite David Bowie albums. Cheers.